What's up, CHOOCH? Out here on the Commander High Torque, and look at that. I got almost a cutout on the Commander High Torque, guys. I sent it all the way up to the maximum beeps, about 38 miles per hour, and it almost dumped me forward. What you see right here is, I mean, a almost catastrophic failure on this thing. Essentially, you push it past where the motor is really meant to handle it, and this being a high torque model, just not meant for speed on the roadway. And coming in like that, you saw the whole front end dip right there, and I leaned back a little bit, and a lot of times you don't get that lucky where the wheel will catch up with itself and not dump you forward. And this right here is exactly why you would want to buy a high speed model. If you do a lot of road riding, you do, primarily riding in the city, you definitely want to go with the high speed model, just because even if you don't ride typically over 40, you want to be able to have the power there and the speed to go that fast in this given scenario where you need to get out of the way of a car, or if there's just an anomaly with traffic where the guy's backing in a bus or something like that, and he doesn't see you, and you got to get out of the way really quick. That's why you really want the high speed model, guys. Just especially in a setting like where you're going to be primarily on the road. That's why I said the only place you really want the high torque is if you're going to be riding somewhere like San Francisco, up in Washington State near like Seattle and all that, or anywhere where you have a lot of mountains, off-road terrain like that. I love the high torque because I typically don't ride on.
Yeah, I want to get used to this one before I give it a speed run. This wheel feels really good though. Like I love the weight of it. The weight is like, this thing feels good.
Yeah, that tire would win the race just right there.
Yeah.
That tire's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the tire makes a huge difference. You got to be able to, so like with a tire like that where it's like more of a flat tire, you can't corner, like you really can't corner on those near as good. Like literally like with the Sherman, you'll hit like an apex on it and you'll just die with the pedal,
So the only thing that's not good for racing on that is top speed and the pedaling.
Yeah.
But that tire would be able to take the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly what I was thinking. Like the weight just feels in the perfect place. It literally feels like
it could be just the tire's not on their strength.
you just don't have as much
Yeah,
leg.
exactly. It's not as high for you to rest your shit against.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, this thing right here is awesome.
Stuff like this, or in neighborhoods or on roadways and everything like this. So the high torque for me, about 40 miles an hour, is great on a single track trail in the mountains where you're hitting switchbacks and you're having to really rely on the torque in order to have your fun on the trails. It really makes a difference, guys. And there is a place for the high torque model, but I'm just saying most people that are doing any type of urban riding are going to want to go with the high speed model. And the high speed model on this one is awesome. I mean, you can get insane range on it while still going fast. And at 3,600 watt hours on this thing, I did the longest range ride I've ever done the other day on the high torque wheel, but I just was cruising mountain roads. I was cruising dirt roads that were really steep through the mountains, and it was perfect for that. And a lot of people just aren't going to be riding in a situation where you're riding up steep, dirt roads, mountain roads, single track trails, switchbacks, all that type of stuff. And I'm glad they do make a wheel for the people that want it and want the high torque model. But for the typical rider, I'd say go with the high speed all day when it comes to the Commander. Just, you'll be able to go as fast as you want. You'll be able to have an insane range, and you're not going to have to worry about having a cutoff whenever you do go fast. So that's exactly what you see on this wheel. And whenever I saw that little speed limit sign up on the side of the road, I always try to go past them and run up the miles per hour as fast, like and just see how fast my wheel actually is going, because those things are pretty accurate. And I got the dip forward right there. Andrew was sitting next to it, and I got the dip forward on the Commander at about 38 miles an hour. And on a high torque wheel, that's pretty much standard, guys, with the M Super Pro and the RS high torque and all that. I mean, that's typical. I mean, I literally think that that motor is just meant to like cut off or be overpowered at that speed, essentially. And until they make a new high torque motor where you still have high torque, but you also have decent speed, like I at least want 45 to 46 miles an hour on the high torque motors, just for safety purposes. And I think we definitely need to see that coming soon. And or either like a hybrid motor, something that doesn't need to have high speed or high torque, something that's just good at both right out of the gate. I don't understand why we can't really get to that point. I don't know if it's with the way the motor wire or the way the motor is wrapped with the wires. I don't understand why it has to be all the way high torque or all the way high speed. I think they should make like a medium between the two, where I mean you just would have to whatever they're doing in order to make one high torque or high speed, just do the middle ground of that, and then I think we'd have the perfect wheel. So with this wheel right here, I was fully planning on racing this thing. You see, the tire on this thing is called the Conti Scoot. So it's a tire made by Continental Tire, and it is incredible. So I'm going to try to find it. I'll try to link it below if I can find it on Amazon or anything like that. But if not, the reason you can't find this tire is because everybody in the electric unicycle game heard about it and figured out that this thing was absolutely like magic for riding on the road. And it seriously is. There's no other street riding tire ever that's compared to this. It's simply incredible. I feel like if I had this on the veteran Sherman, like some of the racers out at the track did, this thing would just purr, man. Like a this tire on a wheel you could go 54 miles an hour on would be absolutely insane. It would be so much fun, and you could just grip corners like nothing. And I mean, if you can find it, it's called the Conti Scoop, made by Continental, and just the whole feel of the tire. It feels like almost like a Nerf dart on the outside, but it holds up really well, and it's just something new, man. I didn't think that a tire like this would, you know, give me the fizz like it did, but this thing is sweet. Um, there's no complaints really on this wheel. If you know what you're buying, you want the high torque, get the high torque for your single track cruising in the mountains. Like if I lived for example, this wheel would be perfect if you lived like in Aspen, where predominantly everything around the town is just elevation. It's all gravel roads, dirt trails, all kind of stuff like that. I know that's a weird place to compare it to, but I rode the EXN there, and I rode the EXN on a full day of riding from sunup to sundown in Aspen. And essentially, if I would have had a wheel like this, where I just had a little bit more watt hours to it, I could have just rode all the trails faster because I knew I was going to be riding all day on the EXN whenever I went there. And so I was kind of conservative on how fast I climbed up the hills and whatnot, and tried to really maintain my battery and nurse it, over the day. But with this wheel, you can just go all out. Everywhere you want to go, you can literally torque out of your corners full speed, torque up your hills full speed, not ever worry about like how much battery you're using on this wheel. Seriously, I mean, you can go all day long on this thing riding trails, and I think it's unique in that factor that you can go trail riding, adventure riding all day on this wheel and never worry about a charge. I'm talking about from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on this thing, and you'd be good to go.
Yeah, it dipped it, dude. It about threw me off right there. You see it dive? Yeah. Well, it about threw me off. Y'all see that? Y'all see it dive?
It died?
The power
It
killed,
surged?
and it surged and went down, dude. It about threw me off.
But you leaned back and it picked back up?
Yep, bro. Literally, dude. My heart is like pounding right now, dude.
I have to check out that footage.
It went, like, right after that thing, it fully dipped, and I felt the motor being
Oh, man, that's not...
Yeah, so like it won't go over 35.
It hit 38. That's exactly when
So it said
it said
38.
38, and then it yeah. So you were hitting 37, and it hit 38.
So the only two wheels that I know of that really would go 40 plus that I have are the EXN will go 40 and the Sherman will go well over that.
We went 42 on this yesterday. On this one,
On that one,
April.
yeah.
You want to take this on for your race?
No, that just wouldn't do it in the corners. Yeah. That's why I like the V12, you know, as much as people hate it on the V12, that thing is fast for such a little wheel.
Zippy.
Yeah, the V12 is fun, man. I really enjoy that little wheel.
There's no way you can race out there.
What, you know?
There's no way you can race out there, huh?
This
Just
thing?
doesn't have enough gas in the tank.
I
I guess on turns, well, if it was a long distance race, because that thing is supposed to go like, I think that's one of the longest range wheels out there. It's the longest range wheel.
yeah.
Because it's got as much batteries as the.
There's got to be
Pro.
something, dude. There's got to be something, because there's people that have gone over 38 on this, right?
Talk to. Yeah, I would talk to Law. Message Law.
And the guy at Alien rides, I've seen him ride it, and he goes over 38. It
Are
looks
they
like.
riding the high torque or the high speed?
I think it's high speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I was wondering if they gave you the high torque because at your race there's going to be a bunch of turns,
Yeah.
and coming out of the turns, you'd be able to accelerate faster. I don't know. But yeah, your top speed is going to be limiting.
I feel like the torque on this is way higher than the EXN.
Okay.
Definitely. That top speed, that 2 miles an hour, the difference in top speed there.
But you're still going to need to go faster than
38.
35. 38,
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
36. Yeah, so the guys that have like the dialed in Shermans with the street tire on the Shermans, I think that's genuinely like the fastest wheel. If you have the Sherman with higher pedals and a street tire, that's the winner.
Faster than the EXN?
Yeah, yeah. So the only reason I rode the EXN really over the Sherman is just because the Sherman's pedals were just they were way too low.
Yeah.
And every time I went into a corner, I just would slam pedals down, man. And then also it had the knobby tires, and so once you came off that apex, it really dug those pedals into the pavement, you know?
Now, if you get the high-speed model of this, and you're just full send around town, that's going to be a whole different dynamic of riding. I mean, you're literally going to be able to go 50 miles an hour, but you're going to be able to go 50 miles an hour literally all day long. I mean, if you're doing food deliveries, think about that. If you're making money doing food deliveries and electric motorcycles, the tool you're using to do it, this right here you don't need to have two wheels. You don't ever have to go back and switch gears on a lunch break or anything like that. You're good to just get on this thing and go all day as fast as you possibly want to and never worry about recharging or taking a charger in the backpack that you can do
about threw me off right there. You see it
as
dive?
extra weight and all that. So, I mean, this is just the long-range commuter wheel. Like if I lived in like Los Angeles, for example, right now, with the way gas prices are, I would get on this thing. I'd get right on the edge of that LA river, and I'd just go screaming through the middle of LA, no problem. And you'd be able to commute faster than any car, any moped, minivan, whatever you want to name it. You'd be out there cruising as fast as the Cessnas, essentially, through the middle of LA with this thing. Like, just avoiding all traffic, go wherever you want to, and go as far as you want to. Start down in Santa Monica, ride up to Mount Baldy, come back all the way down into town and go back up the mountains, come back into town and go back up in the mountains, and then come back into the town, and you still have battery left. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you could literally get around any big city in the United States for a full day going, 95 miles, more so than anybody would ever want to ride, essentially. There's some people out there, like long-haul riders, that are all about that, but I think with this, you could literally get it for the typical rider, commute on it all week without ever recharging it some weeks. And that's also a cool thing to think about. Check out any of the wheels from EUCO, you don't necessarily have to get this one. I know it's an expensive wheel. There is a lot of other wheels out there that might be right for you. So check them all out. And if you use that link, it helps me out at no extra cost to you, and it's greatly appreciated. Anyways, dudes, it's been CHOOCH. I'll see you guys in the next one.